bunch of you guys saw this Jag build coming to an end and saw us calling it the finale and thought you weren't going to see this car being driven. Don't you worry folks, this car's going to get driven. A lot. I'd like to start with a question for me and for you guys. Have we made a better Jag? Keep that in mind, we'll come back to it later in the video. Let's recap this car's story then. We bought it for £4,000 back in November 2022. It had been sitting in the compound at Swallows Racing, a Jaguar specialist, and they had imported it from Japan. It had got to Japan via the USA, hence why it is left-hand drive, and because it lived most of its life in Japan, it didn't have a speck of rust underneath, hence why Swallows imported it. We then purchased it and set about making the car that Jaguar never put into production. A manual, fast road XKR. And so, it's got Evo coilovers, Tarox brakes, an LSD at the back, bigger 20-inch BBS alloys, a smaller supercharger pulley, but most importantly, this. A 6-speed ZF manual gearbox. It's actually the exact same gearbox we put in our M5 Touring. Then there was the paint, the seats, the grills, the roof lining, all of it's had a proper glow up. And so here it is, our finished manual XKR. That is the main achievement of this project, the fact this car now has 3 pedals and a gear stick. We reckon, simply by swapping out that automatic gearbox, we freed up between 70 to 80 horsepower, simply through the amount of energy wastage of spinning up that incredibly heavy torque converter. Why didn't Jag think about putting this into production? Now, the extra nerdy amongst you will maybe bring me up on the Jaguar never made this car thing. Technically, they did make a concept car that was very close to the recipe that we've concocted here. It was called the XKRR, and it was supposed to be Jaguar's attempt at a limited track day car. Clarkson drove it back in the day, and it was a 400 brake horsepower manual XKR that had fettled suspension, brakes, and even a roll cage, all done by the clever guys and girls of the Special Vehicle Operations Department. But that car never made it into production for the likes of you or me to buy. The later XK got the RS and the RS GT, but the X100 only ever got that Mercedes slush box still in Richard's XJR. You could say then, we have built a road-going XKRR. We have proved Jaguar's concept. But then again, I'd say we've taken it a step further than Jaguar ever went. That 4-litre supercharged V8 up there is putting out 420 horsepower. You may have seen in our dyno video, it is actually capable of 450, but that was with the standard airbox completely removed and it was just the exposed throttle body. So to get that number, we'd have to create some sort of custom air intake system. That power gain has come through our manual gearbox, the smaller supercharger pulley, but also a standalone ECU, so you can fiddle about with it. Steve from PV Engineering has really sprinkled some magic on it. Another thing that the Swallows guys absolutely nailed is the exhaust system. They made a very similar system for Richard's XJR as well, and it's released that V8 engine. Jags of this era sound good anyway, but this thing sounds amazing. Before we came on this shoot, the sponsors of today's video, G-Technic, made sure our Jag looked amazing too. Let's hop back in time a bit and we'll show you what went down. We have brought the Jag down to our local G-Technic accredited detailer, System Cleanse in Weston-super-Mare, and the car will be getting the exact same treatment as Yuki did, Crystal Serum Light and the brand new EXO V5 hydrophobic coating. Matt, the lead detailer here, first gave the car a full machine polish over 2 days to make sure the bodywork being coated was in tip-top shape. Just like Yuki, on goes the Crystal Serum Light, which provides a solid base for our EXO V5 layer. CSL goes a long way to protect your bodywork from nasty swirls and contaminants, as well as giving the Jag even more of a mirror finish. G-Technic also says it is very durable compared to other paint protection products. Then comes the EXO V5 that is so hydrophobic as a top coating that you will find that most of the dirt will just blow off when using a pressure washer. That helps especially when you have a black car that can get very mucky very easily. Matt also gave the Jag's carpets a sprucing as well as all of the glass. Thank you to G-Technic for sponsoring today's video. You guys can see the Jag looking this good in real life because we are hosting the first public DRIVETRIBE event. Richard Hammond, myself, the rest of the DRIVETRIBE team are going to be there, along with some very special guests from the worlds of YouTube and TV. We will also be hosting at the event a show and shine competition sponsored by G-Technic. So if you're interested in coming to our car meet, register your interest by clicking the link in the description below. Tickets will be in short supply, so get clicking now before it's too late. What was frustrating during the noughties is that this car was routinely put up against the 996 911, but the power this car had put it slap bang between the lower spec Carrera and Carrera S's and the savage 911 Turbo. Sadly, car magazines more often than not put this thing up against the Turbo because they clearly decided that power advantage was unfair over the Carreras. That meant it got annihilated because pretty much any car that goes up against the 911 Turbo generally loses. But with everything we've done to this car, I reckon it would take it now. The 911 Turbo created exactly 420 horsepower, so we're bang on in that respect. But with this thing's uprated clutch, uprated brakes, and those brand new coilovers, I think we've built a Porsche beater. The standout aspect of this car isn't the manual gearbox or the uprated engine, it is the suspension setup. The guys at Swallows are racing drivers at heart. They regularly compete in a nationwide Jaguar series, and they have poured all of that intel and experience into these Evo coilovers. It is by far the main thing you can feel from behind the wheel. They have found that perfect balance of the car still riding perfectly as a Jag should, but also being exactly as stiff as you want it so that you can show it a corner and it will take it aggressively. The car looks amazing now too. It has been lowered and those BBS wheels now tuck up into the arches really nicely, but the car never feels like it's on the verge of bottoming out. The XK as standard is a big wafting cruiser, really. But by switching to these coilovers and Tom and the guys fiddling about with them, iterating each setup, this thing is a proper sports car now. Combined with the Michelin PS4S tyres, the suspension gives the perfect amount of response through stiffness, while also having just enough lean and roll to make sure it's not too jumpy and hyperactive. The original Jag suspension is a bit too comfortable and soft, and if you slap a set of coilovers on a car, you can sometimes ruin it. But when you have a professional set them up, they can transform anything, even a 1700 kilo British barge. If you fancy a manual XKR of your own, by the way, Hit the guys at Swallows Racing up, their order books are already filling up. This car isn't perfect though. Let's start with this manual gearbox. The housing of the gearbox is a slightly different shape to the auto that came out of it, so some heat shielding had to be removed. That lack of heat shielding means that heat pumps up through the gear stick gaiter and into the car. It just so happens the aircon isn't blowing cold. It has been over 30 degrees in the UK recently. Today it's about 25. So, it gets very sweaty in this cockpit. Those are things that will be sorted, but right now, you can probably see it on my face. My face is wet. I need some air. I'm sorry, sound man. Just give me 2 minutes. Holy crap. Then there's the clutch. Now, we deliberately put in a pretty severe clutch into this car. One, so it could deal with the power, and two, so that it can win a certain drag race coming up. I'm sure you guys know all about that. It is actually the exact same clutch that the Swallows guys put in their racing cars, which is great. And also, a massive pain in the arse. Out here, in the sticks, it is punchy, direct, a brutal shift, but really nice once you get going. But this isn't a race car, it is a road car. So it encounters road car things like being stuck in traffic. And this clutch does not enjoy that at all. It does not like being ridden in the slightest. And also it is a race clutch, so it's just gonna wear out. It's not been designed for kicking about in traffic. That means currently you have to drive it in one of two ways. You either drive it in, weirdly, the same way as a Porsche Carrera GT. You lift the clutch and don't even think about touching the throttle until the clutch is fully up, and thankfully the sheer torque and momentum of that V8 engine stops you from stalling. But you do have to get the timing of the throttle perfect, otherwise you jolt away. The other option is that you set the throttle and dump the clutch if you've got space in front of you, but that makes you look like even more of an idiot. I will admit that we've gone too far with the clutch. We'll keep it in for now because we have a drag race to win, but after that I think we'll put the setup that we had in the M5 just so that we tweak the needle back towards road car rather than track car. Another issue I've found that is nothing to do with us is just how low the dash sits on these X100 XKs. We haven't modified any of this, and I'm not that tall a bloke, I'm 5'10", but my right knee in its natural position hits right into the steering column surround, just there. That means I have to do what I would call side saddling the brake pedal. I have to keep my right knee where it is and just rotate my foot straight across to the brake pedal. I really don't feel like I can get a nice, strong, parallel, direct force straight down onto the brake pedal and not give it full brake force. It also means I cannot heel and toe at all, which isn't great when you've put a manual gearbox in a car. I could maybe learn to toe and heel, switching it around. I guess I could try and make that work, but yes, just an issue I didn't see coming at all. There are a few things that we've missed that need snagging. This bit of the dashboard is starting to sort of slump down, probably from the amount of times my knee has hit into it. There's a plastic bit on the driver's seatbelt mechanism that is snapped off, so that needs done. And then the plastic surround for the rear brake light has always been all cracked and is actually held up by a bit of blue foam. Those things all need sorted. But to be honest, right here, right now, I couldn't give a rat's arse about those things because you just get it in a low gear, floor it, and let those pipes sing.
back to the question from the start then. Have we made a better Jag? By going this far with it, have we left behind some Jaguar-ness? Well, it's tricky. Jaguar is a very different company to what it was back in the early 2000s. It seems to horse through CEOs. It keeps being on the verge of either being collapsed or sold off, and as it stands, it is about to become a purely electric luxury brand. The V8 sports car lineage has now died with the F-Type bidding farewell. I am a Jag man through and through, so is Richard, but would we even think of buying a brand new Jaguar? No, it's not even close really.
When you think of the current state of the company then, our car couldn't be much further from a modern Jaguar, although in my opinion, Jag went off the rails when the lead designer Ian Callum left in 2019. Instead, I like to think of the core original values of Jaguar and then look at our car, especially from that rear three-quarter view, the roof line, the front grille, the leather, the wood, and now our 3 pedals and a stick. Our car is now quite far removed from an original standard XK, which is quite a gentrified, wafty GT car. But I would like to think that Jaguar legends like Sir William Lyons, Malcolm Sayer, Norman Dewis would look at our car and approve, and that is what Jaguar is all about. But what is your answer to this video's question? I'm really interested to know, so comment down below and I will definitely read them. Right, sir, you have got a date on a runway with some bloke called Alex. He's got a Jaguar too. Yeah, his is an absolute shed compared to you. Don't worry about it.